Clemency, which is the heal that you're going to use to proc Divine Veil if you ever used it for whatever reason. Clemency is a fantastic heal, especially when you combine it with Requiescat. You can heal for like half your HP if you get lucky crits, and it's just like, it's really good. You won't heal yourself too much, especially in like trials and raids and all that. In dungeons, you might find a scenario where your healer dies, and you can still pull off the kill if you heal the party, and that's always fun, you know, being tank healer and DPS. So you might love this ability, or you might never use it. It has its uses, but it's fairly limited, you know. Most of the time, the healers are going to heal, as it turns out. So yeah, Royal Authority. This is just upgraded Rage of Hellony. Just straight an upgrade. Like, you use this instead of that. There's no difference there. Intervention. Intervention is a good ability. You have to set up a macro to use it because you don't want to click on whoever you want to receive your damage reduction. You're probably just going to put it on the tank. You're going to set up a macro for it and use that. It gives you some damage reduction on that party member, and will also give them an additional damage reduction based on your cooldowns that you've used or not. So if there's ever a huge tank buster that doesn't require a swap, you can use this, or contrary to that, you could use this after a tank swap, and it will give them your sentinel that you just used for the tank buster that gave you a vulnerability which caused the tank swap. So yeah, that's an option. It's a pretty good ability. I definitely don't use it enough, but it's there. It uses your oath gauge as well, so be mindful of that. If you're using your Sheltron a lot, you can't use this ability. So if you're off tanking, you should have your Sheltron because you're not taking damage anyway, blah blah blah. You know how it works. You know how games work. That's how it works, okay? Holy Spirit, you're not going to use this until 68. There's literally no reason. Yeah. Why would you use that? Requiescat. This ability is fantastic. It's huge damage. It's an ability off GCD. It does damage based on your MP and then gives you a buff based on your MP. So you always use this off cooldown if you have full mana and you're not fight or flighting. So yeah, it's really good. It's really good. There's also, well, we'll cover that in a minute. Yeah, you'll use this and then your spells almost always, and then at 78, this is what makes it actually good. Because hard casting spells as a tank is like, it just feels so bad. I don't know what they were thinking. Like this, you'll never use these until 78. Like, honestly. It never feels good. It never feels good, okay? Until 78, when you get the instant casting from this. I don't recommend it until then. Intervene. Okay. Intervene is a great skill. The only problem with it is it's at level 74. Why, in God's name, did they develop this for level 74s, okay? Whoever came up with that, who's like, let's put it at level 74, we should just chuck him off this bridge right here, because that's so bad. It's so stupid. This should be like a level 10 skill. It's a great skill. You're gonna love this skill. It makes you go zoom right to the enemy. Does damage. You'll use it as part of your main damage rotation as well. We'll get to that in a little bit. It's so good, okay? This is a fantastic ability, and it should be earlier than 74, just like instant casting. This should not exist. It should just be always instant cast, practically, okay? It makes your class actually function, okay? That's what I feel like, alright? So, Intervene, you'll love it. Be careful not to go too fast with it. You could outrun your healers if you're just zooming to packs, you know. Healers don't really get any movement abilities, so just keep that in mind if you're doing dungeon pulls and you're intervening to packs, that your healer might be a few steps behind. So be careful of intervening a little too fast. You don't want to outrun your healer. Atonement. This is an extension to your Royal Authority combo. As you might notice, it says grants 3 stacks of Sword Oath, and you'd probably be like, what the hell's that? Because that's what I was like. I had no idea what that was. And then after you get it, you'll understand that that allows atonement, okay? So, yeah, you'll get 3 stacks. This lets you use atonement. You'll use atonement 3 times, and then you're out of stacks. So instead of, 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3 again, you do 1, 2, 3, and then 3 atonements. It's much, much more damage, and it restores MP, which is great. That's it. It's good stuff. Yeah, atonement's good. You'll use that Confiteor. This is a bit of a weird ability because it relies, or you really want to use it on the last hit of your Requiescat. So you'll have 10,000 mana always, and then you'll use Requiescat, and then you'll use 4 Holy Spirits or 4 Holy Circles, and then you'll use Confiteor. And that'll end the Requiescat. I don't know why it works like that, really, but that's how it works. Also note that this is not around you, like Holy Circle and your other AoEs. This is actually targeting the enemy that you selected, so if you're targeting the enemy all the way in the back of the group that you're AoEing, you might not hit everything, so that's something to keep in mind, is that it's actually targeting the monster. So make sure you click one that's going to be in the middle of the pack that's going to hit everything. It's really good damage, super high potency. You'll love it. It's a big sword, it's cool, it's visually impactful, great ability. Oh, I skipped Passive Arms. Okay, Patched Arms. This one, I mean, you might have seen it. It looks cool as shit. It's aesthetically pleasing, very Paladin-esque. Yeah, that's about it. You'll use this whenever there's a huge, unavoidable raid-wide damage, and you can't attack, usually. If you can still attack, you'll probably not use this, and just DPS, because that's usually preferable. You have your tank cooldowns. I mean, if you don't know what these are, you should, okay? It's more damage reduction. You got a stun off GCD. This is an ability. Provoke, put you at the top of the threat list, so if the other tank is like, let's swap, you use Provoke. If there's ever a ranged mob, or a mob that's super far away, it also has more range than your shield throw, so that's something to keep in mind if there's an enemy really far away that's not attacking you. It's also off GCD, so you can use it while still damaging the pack around you, and then you can provoke the faraway mob. It's great. Interject. I'm gonna cover like raid mechanics later, I think. But there's a way to know which abilities are interruptible and which ones aren't. And there's like a flash on the cast bar. It's really hard to explain. It's not really explained in game at all. Just, I think, a bit of a failure. Like, they really should tell you that in game somewhere. That's a bit of a learning curve that new players are going to have, is learning which ones are interruptible and which ones are not, because it has a different cast bar in the same exact spot that's not really that different, so yeah. Anyways, Reprisal, you can use this whenever a boss is going to AoE. That's when I usually use it. If there's ever an AoE on the group, this reduces the damage dealt by the enemy, not 10% damage reduction like Rampart is, 20% reduced damage taken. So this is more for like the boss is going to do an AoE and you can reduce it by 10% by using that. Also, you can use it on AoE pulls to reduce damage from every monster around you. You know how that works. Oh, arm's length. Okay. I'm sure you might be familiar with this one because many classes do get it. I believe ranged, melee, and tanks all get this ability. And it has an additional effect that is somewhat ignored or misunderstood at the very least, which is slow 20% when barrier is struck. What does that mean? Well, it's nothing to do with movement speed, if that's what you're thinking. It's actually attack speed and action speed of enemies. So whenever the enemy hits you, they will get slowed by 20%. This is insane for AoE pulls. You definitely want to use this, okay? It also prevents knockbacks, which is the most common use for this, but if you're tanking, the 20% slow is absolutely worth noting. It's so good. Please use this on AoE pulls. Your healers will love you, because you're just taking way less damage. It's fantastic. Shirk. Do not ignore Shirk. This is for tank swapping. Okay? Do not ignore it. Please. You'll probably want to set up a macro as well. I can probably put that in the description. That one. Okay. Shirkums. Alright, so you got a Shirk macro. It's going to use Shirk on target 2. It's repeated like that to make sure the cast goes off as soon as possible. Don't ask me why macros work like that. It's weird, okay, I know. So I'll try and put this in the description or an additional comment or something. That way you guys can have this. The same works for intervention and cover. These should work. It's on target 2, which if you have the standard settings on, that will always be the off tank. Or the other tank. Rather, not the off tank, the other tank. So there you go. That's the macro. You can just copy it from the video, or like I said, I'll try and put it in the description. So this, you'll use this whenever the other tank provokes off of you. They use provoke, you use Shirk, and you'll never pull aggro. They have aggro 100%. 100%. There's no way that fails. So yeah, there you go. Or if you're the off tank and you're pulling too much aggro and you have stance on and you don't want to stance off, that's another scenario where you could use this. Although that's less common, so yeah. This is all basically covered in the actions part of this, so there you go. Alright, that's going to end part 2 of the abilities. It's just breaking down the abilities. The rotation going to be in a separate video. It just, I originally was going to put it in this one, but like it just worked out to be like a little bit too long, and also it just makes more sense to separate them. So they are separated. If you're interested in that, I will be linking it. Description. Probably a little box thing at the top you can click, all that fancy stuff. Alright. Thanks for watching. Follow the Twitch, smash that like button, as the YouTubers say. And I'll see ya in the next one.